Hey, what's going on, all my legacy leaders out there? How's the day going with you? We are on location filming today down in North Carolina. I had to come down here and speak to some people um, at the Chamber of Commerce for Onslow County. So we were doing, or Jacksonville rather, for Jacksonville Chamber of Commerce, doing a lot of big things today, talking about leadership and legacy leadership specifically. It was really a great time. I really enjoyed getting to spend some time with some of my friends from down here when I was stationed at Camp Lejeune. So I really enjoyed my time here just recently, and so it was a lot of fun. So I wanted to talk to you all today. Wanted to let you know that you are tuned in to the Legacy Leadership Podcast, where we are changing the world one legacy at a time. And our goals today, for those of you all that don't know me, that are tuning in, or if you're watching on the replay, my name is Robert Heath Sr. I am the CEO of Legacy Leadership Consulting and the founder of the Legacy Empowerment Academy. And today we're going to be talking about why can't people just do their jobs? The talk that I gave today, specifically, we're going to be talking about what about your hiring practices can you improve, right? How can you improve your hiring practices so you have the right people in the right jobs? So before we get to that, I want to do a little bit of the housekeeping that we do on the show. So we're going to get to that information, but I wanted to let you know again that here at Legacy Leadership Consulting, our host, we sponsor this with the two entities, Legacy Leadership Consulting and Legacy Empowerment Academy. The vision, again, is to change the world of leadership education such that leaders become firmly rooted in the truth that everyone has amazing gifts to share with the world. That the definition of leadership is to facilitate the manifestation of greatness in others, right? And that the true purpose of a leader is to develop your ability to increase awareness of the gifts that people have, and to also increase to facilitate the manifestation of those gifts in them, right? Our goal with this podcast is to help others cultivate environments to facilitate the manifestation of their greatness, right? Of the team's greatness, and create systems that sustain that transformation. Very key to sustain that transformation. We develop leaders ultimately who develop other leaders. So I want to say hello. What's going on, Demetrius? Thanks for tuning in. And for those of the rest of you all that are tuning in, let me know where you're tuning in from. Go ahead and give us some thumbs up and some hearts. Let me know that you're here. Let me know that you can hear me well, that everything's working out, right? So for those of you all who want some more information about what we do at Legacy Leadership Consulting, like I said, I'm all over the country doing talks, consulting with companies, and doing those types of things. You can go ahead and go to the website, www.legacyleadershipmastery.com. Again, that's legacyleadershipmastery.com. What's going on, Whit? How you doing? Appreciate you tuning in. And for those of you all that don't know, that kind of topic that we're going to be talking about today, which is why can't people just do their jobs, that is the title of my book that is now an Amazon bestseller. It's out. We're doing it. It's out in Kindle version. You can get that for $7.99 on Amazon. You can also get the paperback. We're doing a limited run on the paperback right now. You can get that for $10 on Amazon. So you can go ahead and go to Amazon and search "Why Can't People Just Do Their Jobs," and you can find that book. But if you're interested in it, if it's really something that I can help you with, I want to give you an opportunity to get that book for free. So if you stay to the end of the broadcast, I can tell you about how you can get access to the book for free. All right. So let's go over the rules of podcast really quickly, and we'll go ahead and get to our first legacy leadership discussion, which is, again, how you can hire better to make sure that you can maximize the effectiveness of your team. So rule number one is that you got to get connected. We're on Instagram, we're on Facebook, we're on YouTube. Go and look up Legacy Leadership Consulting and go ahead and like the pages, get yourselves connected so you can find out what we're doing and when we're doing it. We also have the hashtag Legacy Leaders secret group. So go ahead and search that group to join the group. You can make it happen. There's a lot of videos and things like that we have in there. Hey Marlo, how you doing? Thanks for tuning in. Like I said, again, you want to get connected. That's rule number one. right? And you want to set up Facebook to notify you so that you know when we're going live so you never miss an episode. Right now we're on Tuesdays, every Tuesday from 9 to 10 Eastern. We're going to be switching up here in season 2, which is we're finishing up here in March, and then season 2 is going to start, and we're going to start on Wednesday. So make sure you got Facebook setting you up to notify you when we're live so you don't miss an episode. So rule number 2, spread the wealth. Make sure you're sharing to all your friends and everybody else. Let them know that we're on. Let them know that you're getting good information here, right? Don't keep all the wonderful information to yourself. Let everybody know that we're here and that we're talking about some really good leadership topics. As a matter of fact, for those of you all that have been paying attention and are thinking about staying around so you can get that access to that free copy, remember, first step of getting the free copy is to make sure that you go ahead and you share with your friends, right? So rule number 3, RESPECT, is the great Aretha Franklin said it. You got to make sure you're respectful. It's okay if we don't agree. It's okay if we disagree with, you can disagree with me, you can disagree with my guests, you can disagree with the show in general. But the big thing is, in our comments, we will be respectful. We only keep respectful comments if the comments are attacking people. They can't stay on there because we're cultivating an environment where respect is what's going on. We can agree to disagree. We can disagree agreeably, but we can't be disagreeable on what we're doing. So, want you all to go ahead and make that happen. So I see that Richard is on here. Hey Richard, how's it going? And so we've got to just make sure that check it out and see if we're on. If you can hear me, that's good. Make sure that you're on your phone so that I can bring you on camera once that happens. So we're going to move now to our topic for the day. We're talking about how to hire better, how to get your people so that when you are bringing them on your team, what are some tools or some things that you can do to make sure that you have the right people in the right place, right? So, because a lot of times we wonder, did we hire the right person? Why is it that they just won't do what they're supposed to do? Are they incompetent? Are they not capable? And I want you to remember the difference between kind of incompetent and competent, right? There's a difference. There's a level that we call competency. This is the level where you can't fire somebody because they're doing the job. They may not be doing it great, but they're doing the bare minimum. And these are the people that are normally really frustrating for us, right? Because for that very reason, we can't fire them. We can just be frustrated with what they do. Then we have what we call excellence. And this place is where, people are knocking it out of the park. They're taking initiative. They're being innovative. They're doing everything we need them to do. That gap, right, is what we call the leadership gap. And that gap is an important thing to understand, because that gap means that the person is proficient. The person is capable of doing the job, and you probably are keeping them because they also have potential. And that's one of the big keys. The fact that they have potential, right? And so what you want to do, and really quickly, let me take a pause. Good, I see that you're on the phone, Richard. One of the things we want to make sure is that you've got your phone set up so that Facebook has access to your camera and your microphone, so that when we log on, you can, so that you can actually do the live on your phone. So go ahead and go into your settings and check that really quickly. But as I was saying, what you want to do is, when you're dealing with your employees or with your subordinates or whoever it is that you're dealing with in your organization, you want to make sure that you understand the difference between that gap and the people who are lazy, shiftless, who are not really doing what they're supposed to do. Because here's the key detail, right? There's a different class of person than the proficient person, right? We've got proficiency, we got excellence, but then we've got all those people that are not proficient. Now, they may be not proficient in attendance, they may be not proficient in a number of different things, but here's the deal. If you have people that don't care about your company, don't care about your mission, don't care about your vision, they have this amazing ability to do this thing called quit, right? Give 2 weeks notice, or even better, to just no call, no show and not show up, right? These are the people that truly don't care. They don't come in. They don't show up every day. Like, people don't show up to work and say, you know what, I'm good. I'm not gonna do anything. I'm just gonna be here. I'm just gonna collect the check. That's a very rare person. Now, I'm not saying it doesn't happen at all. There are people that are out there, but if you go and you actually look at the people that you work with, you will see that those cases are few and far between. more often than not, your people want to do better and have a desire to do better, but they're not actually quite sure of how to do better. And we talk about this a lot now, and we'll talk about this in future calls, and I've talked about in a couple other calls about the pipeline, the traditional leadership pipeline, and how we grow up understanding mistakes are bad, and the fear failure, and the fear stepping outside of your box. And I was talking to the group today, and I talked to them about if I'm playing on the Bulls in the 90s and I'm an NBA player, but it's the last shot to win the game, I'm passing the ball to Michael Jordan. Why? Because I know if I miss that shot, people aren't going to say, oh, great initiative that you took, or I'm really glad that you tried to do something to make the team better, right? They're going to look at you and they're going to be like, you messed up. Why didn't you do the simple thing, the smart thing, which is shoot it to Mike? But here's the funny thing. When you look at the Nike commercial, Mike talked about it. He's missed over 3,000 shots in his career. He's missed a game-winning shot multiple times. So passing the mic isn't a sure thing, right? But what we know is if I don't do the thing, that if I don't put it on the plate of the person who's better at this than I am, then I'm going to be looked at negatively. So I want you to think about when we're talking about hiring people, when we're talking about growing people, part of this process is understanding that it's a lot harder to hire the wrong person than we think. Most of the people that we think are the wrong person are not really the wrong persons. They're just people that we haven't learned to help manifest their greatness. And we'll talk about that in another lesson. But the key to hiring and making sure that you can have those people that are definitely the right people for your team, you've got to know three things. You got to know your gotta haves, you got to know your wanna haves, and you got to know your can't haves. Again, that's your gotta haves, your wanna haves, and your can't haves, right? And the key to that is knowing who you are, who your company is, what your core values are, and then what the position is going to do for you. Now, in my book, I take you through some exercises you can learn about that, and I also take you through in the course that we do called the Empower Method, right? The Leader's Way course that I run for small business owners. I take you through in depth how to determine what those core values are, what those gotta haves, wanna haves, and can't haves are. But the key is you have to have those things so that when you're going into the interview, you know what you're looking for. You're being proactive. You know who you're trying to get, what you're trying to do. So that's the goal. That's the idea, right? So what I want to do now is go ahead and for those of you all who are out there, hopefully, that helped you a lot. And remember, you got to have your gotta haves, your wanna haves, and your can't haves. Those things that somebody can't be on your team if they have these qualities. And we'll talk about core values a little bit later. So if you could, right, now's the time. Remember, we're Legacy Leadership Podcast. We're changing the world one legacy at a time. The goal is, if you can hear me, if you're on the call, let me know where you're from, what you're doing. If you're on the replay, let me know that you're watching this on replay. I just want to get a little bit of an idea of who we've got on the podcast, who's hearing this, right? And shoot me out some likes and some hearts. Let me know. Let me get some love out there for all y'all that are watching. I appreciate you popping up. And now we're going to move into our second segment. We're going to be talking to our guest for today. I want to make sure, and let me go ahead and try to send out the invite for him. Right. Let's see. Make sure that this is working so we don't have these technical difficulties all day. Let's see. Nope. All right. So I've got Richard on the phone and we're looking at it, but I'm not seeing him pop up on my ability to bring him on camera. So Richard, go ahead and try something. Let me know if you're still on here first of all, and then if you see the ability to request to be on, because it should be able to just pop that in for you right there. And while he's doing that, we're trying to fix the technical stuff here. What I'll do is I'll give you a little bit of an introduction to our guest. He's a very illustrious ghostwriter, freelance writer, and a LinkedIn branding expert that we've got coming on. And so Richard Lowe is our guest. He's a professional ghostwriter and an author. His passion is to help businesses write books that showcase their expertise, build credibility, and tell their story. Excuse me. Excuse me. And so Richard has written and published over 63 books on a variety of subjects, including 2 bestsellers. He's ghostwritten 20 books and authored over 1,000 different articles and blogs on social media. Before his writing career, he was the director of computer operations for Trader Joe's. And before that, he was the VP of consulting for 2 computer firms. His works include Focus on LinkedIn, which is an Amazon bestseller. Congrats to that, part of the Amazon bestseller club. He's also written Cyber Heist and Digitize or Die, right? And so there's a number of different places that you can get linked up with him. Number one is www.thewritingking.com, and that's and all of this will be added into the comments later on. He also has a www.fictionmasterclass.com, and we've got a number of others that are in there. So what's going on right now is we're just trying to get the technology to be working so that we can get Richard on. So let me just step away for a second, and not really step away, but excuse me if I'm not paying complete attention here. I'm trying to get Richard on and make sure that everything works for his for the interview. So let's see. Let's see here. Let me try something and make sure that we've got this set up. Facebook is always fun. Trying to figure out everything that we've got to get done to make it work. But that's all right. We adapt and we overcome and we figure these things out. So let me do this. All right, so I see and I am here. Good. See that from you, Richard. All right, so let me try this really quickly. So go ahead and see if this works. I just sent you a friend request to make sure that we're on and that we're both friends. That might be something that Facebook makes you have to be before you can get the opportunity to be on. Hey Saeed, how you doing? Thanks for tuning in. We're experiencing a little bit of technical difficulties right now, but we're trying to get our guest on for the show. So Richard, go ahead and let me see if we've got the let's see if we've got the did you get the friend request that I just sent you? Go ahead and try that and we'll see if it'll okay, got you. So we got to turn on the mic and the cam. So the first thing that you got to do is go ahead and answer the friend request that I just sent you, and then the other thing that you're going to do is you're going to go ahead and go into your settings, and when you're on for when you go to Facebook, you're going to give it access to your microphone and to your camera. So it's going to be in the settings for your phone, and it just needs access to both of those so that you can go live. All right. So we should be all right there. And again, I want to thank all of y'all that are here for rocking with us and keeping with us during our technical difficulty. It's one of those things that technology is always a lot of fun, and it likes to not do what you want it to do when you want it to do it. So, getting back a little bit while we're waiting to that point that I was making about our when you're trying to hire your team, right? Because a lot of the people that I work with, we've talked about this a lot. My ideal client is that person who is in their business. They've got proof of concept down. They figured out how to make money and what they're good at, what they're capable of providing as a service to the customer. And now they're at the point where they're trying to build their business. They're trying to build their brand. They're trying to improve and increase what they want to do. And so they see that they have, multiple people that they can help, but they only have so many hours in a day. So they realize that, hey, what's going on, Brenda? How you doing? Thanks for tuning in. And so that business owner that is realizing that they're ready to scale, they need to duplicate themselves. They need to get a team together that they can all have focused on the same objective, right? But what they come to is this real understanding that they are not prepared to lead that team, right? They come to the understanding that they, in all of their training to be the best at what they do, and all of their training to be excellent personally, they've never trained on how to deal with other people's idiosyncrasies. They never learned how to deal with how other people have to be taught to do the excellence that they have, right? And so the people that I deal with are generally in that space. They're hiring on, and it doesn't matter whether you're expanding a business where you've already had 100 employees, but you've been kind of an executive leader where you're spending 70, 80, 100 hours at work, and you're just doing it on sheer force of will, force of effort. There's a better way, right? We were talking about in the talk today, chief executives have an above average rate of divorce. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that average workday for a manager, a professional, right, your executives is about, the average work week is about 73 hours, right? All right. Okay, so and so I'll get back to that point in just a second. I see you, Richard, is saying you're in the settings but don't see how to set it. Okay, and you can't hear me right now. Got you. Let me jump on here and start and try shooting you some messages so you can see it. So got you. All right. And okay, Brenda. Okay, I see you. All right. I'll definitely get okay, so one of the things we'll definitely talk about that a little bit later, Brenda. And I appreciate you reaching out. Okay, Richard, you hear me now? Good. So the basic things you want to do is you got to go into your settings, under the Facebook section of your settings. There, or in your settings, it's going to have your apps section. You're going to click on Facebook, and it'll have an opportunity for you to give it access to the microphone, access to the camera. And so that's what you're going to want to do. And just, once you do that, it'll pop up on here. And thanks for the likes, everybody. Once you do it, it'll pop up on here and we'll bring you on. So kind of what I was getting back to, though, ladies and gentlemen, was that, you've got the whole concept, right, of taking your team and building them and trying to find the best people for your team. But the leaders that I work with, one of the hard parts about finding those people is there's a little bit of fear about, are you going to be able to lead those people? Now, what most people do is they try to go out and they try to find people that are just like them. And here's the problem. A lot of times, the reason why you need extra people is because you don't have the skill set to do the things that you need to do, right? Like, There are certain things that I'm really, really good at. There are other things that I'm not. As you can see, technology and social media is not one of those things that I'm super great at. But luckily, I'm intelligent about that, and my ego doesn't jump in the way. So I've already started hiring a social media marketing team, and they're gonna start working on this stuff and making it run a lot more smoothly than it's running right now, right? And similarly, I partner with people who have skills that I don't have. But a lot of times when we want to hire these people, we don't know how to lead them if they're not like us, right? And if you're a numbers and a figures person and you need a graphic designer or an artist or somebody to think outside the box, abstract person, how do you lead that person? How do you communicate with them? How do you get them to do what you want them to do? That's the stuff that I teach people how to do, because one of the things that we know is on our training program, right, from school to college to starting our jobs to becoming a professional, nowhere along that line is there a leadership curriculum that we are mandated to get certified in. Leadership is one of the first jobs that many people get where you don't have to have any previous qualifications in actually leading anybody, right? What we do is we get really good at doing something ourselves, and then people say, you know what, you're really good at this, so how about we give you some other people to help them be good, right? And you know the old adage, right? The best ball players, the best athletes generally don't make the best coaches. Now that's not always the case, but it's generally the case, and here's the reason why. The same focus and the same drive that made them great at being individually successful is not the skill set that will make them great at coaching, that will make them great at helping others to manifest their greatness. While it is helpful for you to be able to be successful individually in order to help people, it is not an obvious jump from being good at something to be able to teach it, to being able to teach it. It requires a different skill set. So that's kind of some of the stuff that we really work on and we really deal with in my courses, in my consulting practice, and with my clients. I deal with that a lot. You deal with the fact that you have very highly successful CEOs, COOs, VPs, plant managers, etc., who have these teams that they just don't understand why they don't see the world the same way they do, why they can't make decisions the same way they can. And more importantly, they don't understand how to get them from point A to point B. And that's really what I work on. That's what I help people with. And I'm really passionate about helping people with that, because of the fact that it's something that I'm a true believer that leadership really has the ability to change the world. I love leaders. Leaders are the visionaries, right? Leaders see the world the way that it could be. Leaders see a vision of what's possible, and they go and they galvanize people to make that vision happen. And a lot of times they do it off of sheer will and guts and charisma. And there are a lot of leaders in the world who have gotten a lot of things done. But the key is there are an exponentially greater number of dreams that go left unfulfilled because those leaders don't understand how to galvanize people to their cause. They haven't mastered the skills of clarifying their vision and of communicating that vision to the people that they need to work on that vision, and then concentrating that effort, right? We talk about this analogy I use. I actually got it from Gino Wickman. He's the author of Traction, and he runs the kind of EOS system. He's a phenomenal business consultant. And one of the things he talks about, I think that he got it from somebody else too, but I read it in his book, so I'll give him the credit. He talks about this analogy, right? The sun gives off trillions of kilowatts of energy every day, right? And it's constantly putting out all of this energy, doing all this work. But if you stand out in the sun for about an hour and a half, how you doing, Colonel Newman? How's everything going? You stand out in the sun for about an hour, hour and a half, worst thing you're going to get is a pretty bad suntan, right? And maybe a sunburn, depending on, what your tolerance is for the sun. But here's the kicker. A laser with only a couple of hundreds of watts, not kilowatts, a couple of hundreds of watts of energy can cut through steel in a matter of seconds. Why? Because that energy is focused, it's concentrated on the task at hand. And that concentration allows it to conquer any obstacle. And that's the key with leaders. That's the biggest thing that we've got to work on. That's the biggest thing that we've got to do. So I want to leave you all with that really quickly. All right, I got it. And so, Richard, I think what we're going to have to wind up doing is I think we're going to move forward and try to reschedule this, and I will do a better job. My apologies, sir. I will do a better job at prep and making sure that everything is taken care of and that we're ready to go before the time comes. And so I apologize for the technical difficulties and not being clear with that when we got started. So I want to thank you all for tuning in. Richard is a phenomenal person that I really want to get you all introduced to. Like I told you, he does a lot with branding and with the information and things that we're doing. So the big thing that I want you to really focus on, the thing that I want you to do is we're going to reschedule this and make it happen once again a little bit later. And what I want you all to be able to do is remember this thing for me, please. Remember that you are phenomenal. Remember that you have within you the capability to do great things. And remember that everybody that you come across is on this earth for a reason. It's my personal belief that every one of us has a purpose. Every one of us has greatness within us. And that leadership, again, the definition of leadership is the facilitation of the manifestation of that greatness, right? The leader's job is to facilitate the manifestation of greatness in others. That is inherently transformation, right? Your job is to help people to transform. Part of the way that you do that is by how you live your life. Part of the way that you do that is by letting your light shine, by manifesting your greatness, by doing what you were put on this earth to do. The second piece to that is by creating an environment where people can be liberated from their fears, as Marianne Williamson says, right? Where people can, how you doing, Luis? Where people can feel comfortable and confident that they can try and that they can get back up. The leader's job is to cultivate resiliency. We facilitate that manifestation of greatness. We cultivate resiliency, that bounce back ability, that ability for people to hit the ground and get back up. And the last thing that we do is we create systems, right? And we trust the process. We trust the greatness that is within the people that we are serving. We trust the fact that they have the potential, and that if we can be that activation energy to change that potential energy to kinetic energy, then they can become who they were supposed to be. And the world can be a better place because you lived in it, because you did your duty, because you manifested your greatness and allowed your greatness to impact and touch others. So I just want to leave you all with that. You are great. You have the ability to impact. Here at Legacy Leadership Consulting and Legacy Empowerment Academy, we believe truly that leaders are the key to transforming the world, to changing the world and making the world a better place, one legacy at a time. And so I want you all, if you have, if you've been with us this long and you're looking at, I want to thank you for sticking with us. And remember, I told you about getting a free book. What I need you to do is go ahead and send me a private message. And in that private message, what I need you to do is tell me one thing that I talked about that you really enjoyed, that you really liked in the podcast. And then you also ask for your copy of the free book, and I'll have my team get that out to you. Thank you for tuning in. And remember to live every day like it was on purpose. Thank you all for showing up, and I'll talk to you next week. Have a great one.